Pam here with Living Fit, and usually I don't do intros like this to my podcast and YouTube, but today's conversation has so much information. I wanted to prepare you. We have Dr. Morales on today with his beautiful wife, Corrie Morales, IFBB Figure Pro. It is a very long conversation that I was blessed to have, and I want you guys to get through the entire thing. So in the beginning, we talked to Corrie, we talk about her journey into becoming an IFBB Figure Pro while being a wife and a mom and a full-time student and working full-time. And then we talked to Dr. Morales and why he chose plastic surgery, the most common procedures that he does. We talk about breast implants, we talk about tummy tucks, we talk about cosmetic surgery versus plastic surgery. We talk about breast plant illness. We talk about Botox. And then we also get to talk and take a sneak peek into their daily lives and their missions and his photography and all kinds of things. I wanted to make sure that you got to the end. If there's something that you're hearing that's not really resonating, just fast forward, speed it up, get to the end, though. There is something in here for everybody. This couple is so inspirational. You don't want to miss this conversation. You want to like and subscribe here and share this with every Morales, Mr. and Mrs. Dr. Morales. What's the proper way to talk about this?
Whatever makes you happy. I'm okay with hey you.
Okay. Well, I wanted to introduce you guys to my guests or to my listeners. So my guest here today is Dr. Morales and his wife, Mrs. Morales, which is Corrie Morales. She's an IFBB Figure Pro. And Dr. Morales is also an IFBB, is it Classic Physique?
Yep.
Okay. Classic Physique. Okay. Before we got on, for everybody listening, for everybody watching, there is so much to this power couple. Okay. So I'm not going to lie. I just recently started following Corrie about a year ago. You guys that are listening, most of you know my story. I haven't been on the competitive scene for a long time. I am an NPC judge. So I do value, the IFBB and the NPC, and I love all the things. And, my husband and I own a CrossFit gym. We're very involved in fitness. But I just started following Corrie about a year ago. So I'm like, where was she? Why wasn't I following her before? So I started following her, and then I saw who her husband was, Dr. Morales, which I kind of had heard a little bit about. He's the plastic surgeon in the fitness space, probably the most well-known. So that's the first thing. They're an amazing couple. So those that are listening, they're IFBB pros, but they run so many things. And I have pages of notes here. If you guys are watching on YouTube, I mean, pages of notes, and I don't even know where to start. So we're just going to start with Mr. and Mrs. Morales as a couple, because your love story is so inspiring. And I think it's the thing that I like the most about you guys, aside from all of your accomplishments that we'll talk about. Because I think it gets lost really in this industry a lot. And you guys are so genuine, and there's so many branches of both of you that we'll kind of get into, that you guys are just helping. You're not about yourselves, but you guys just kind of just portray this love and this genuineness. So that's really what attracted me to follow and just kind of involve myself in your life. That's kind of how social media works, right? So that's kind of cool. So let's talk about your story real quick, how you guys kind of met, and maybe we'll go from there.
All right. Well, I'll take that one. So we are high school sweethearts. We met when I was 17. I took him to my senior prom. He was a little bit older, so he was actually already graduated, but, dated through college, got married shortly after college. We've been together through his medical school, through residency, through bodybuilding, like all those stages of life. Coming up in May, we'll be celebrating our 20-year wedding anniversary, and we're planning our vow renewal right now. So we do legitimately actually love each other. It's not all just for the gram. Don't get me wrong. No relationship is perfect. We have our moments where we're annoyed with each other or whatever. But for the most part, we're really blessed to have each other and to have been doing this for so long, and to have evolved as people and changed over time, but grown through those changes, grown together rather than growing apart through all of those stages of life. And of course we have 2 daughters. So continue to pray for us. They're 17 and 14. So, that's a dynamic aspect of our relationship and our family life. But honestly, it's all good. And yeah, I'll stop there.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And you know, and you can kind of, I mean, I guess I would like to say you can kind of see some of the relationships that are for the gram. And that's not even really where I kind of even learned about your relationship. I actually, you know, looked at your YouTube, Dr. Morales, and
Really?
got to watch some of the videos. And if you guys aren't on there, go to his YouTube, subscribe, and watch some of the story. I mean, it's inspiring. There's lots of you know, information, education on there, of course, but you have it all. It's all very well put together, and you can really kind of follow along what you want to, so you can pick and choose. But there's a few 5-minute videos that I watched of your both of your story, and that was, I mean, it's not for the gram. So I just want to tell you that it is inspiring, and I know that I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son, and the daughter is definitely the one that makes me the most nervous getting to those ages.
Yeah.
So that definitely is a dynamic. And so I guess maybe we'll lead into that really quickly, Corrie, because I had some questions come up from Instagram, because I posted for everybody to ask questions. I have some Facebook groups and whatnot. You know, from some of the competitors that I am friends with and in the community that we're in, and even just some of our CrossFit community, you know, because we all like to work out and look good and all that stuff. It was a kind of the balancing thing. So Corrie, you're not only an IFBB figure pro, you also are very smart, and you have, you know, I saw that you got your pro card you guys both did in 2019.
Yeah.
But
Same show.
What's that?
The exact same show.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
The universe. I did see. I do my homework a little bit, but I was telling my husband, I'm like, that's not very common at all. Like,
Right,
that's awesome. So cool. But Corrie, you were working, you were going for your pro card, which took you some time, as most people. And you have these young daughters, and you were obtaining your MBA at the same time.
Yes.
Correct. So the question goes, how did you do that? How did you manage your time? You know, to be able to do all you did, but also just kind of breathe. You know, I guess that was the big question for a lot of the girls, was like, how do I do that? You know, because you get so caught up in things.
Right. So I will readily admit from the get-go that I was not getting enough sleep. And so sleep is so important. And I think the older I get, the more I read, the more I learn, the more I appreciate that. So I don't recommend necessarily trying to do it all. But starting out, it was really just like you're saying, prioritizing and structuring the day. So my training came first in the day. If I got it done, then there was no way that I could miss out on getting it done. We had, like you said, I was working full time. Roland was working full time, but we were able to hire help that did things like, you know, pick the girls up from school. I could also ask that person to maybe pick up the dry cleaning, things like that. So I outsourced things at the time, and every waking moment was productive, and there was no period really of rest. And again, there is definitely a time and a place and a need for rest and recovery. I did not allow myself at that time. And I would be willing to say, since I was laid off from my corporate job in 2020 with the pandemic, and I have since not returned to a full-time corporate job, I've taken fitness part-time as my work and my love. I get more sleep. I do more with my family. I take more rest. I feel like my training has gone to another level because I have more rest, and my body, I feel like, shows that as well. So this year marks my 10-year anniversary in competing. Like you said, it took me several years to earn my pro card. And I think that was because I was spread pretty thin and trying to do all of the things. And I just looked at it all as a challenge. When I was doing my MBA, Roland was very supportive of me because, again, we'd been together through his medical school and his residency. And so it was his turn to support me because I had supported him. And you don't get that with every man and or every partner, every spouse. So took that opportunity to do that for me, for us, and our girls. Our hope has always been that our girls would see the hard work that we put in and appreciate that, even though at times honestly, some of our time with them perhaps got sacrificed, but to see that it was for us pursuing our goals, and that, it's important as a person to pursue your own personal goals. I mean, you got to be there to support your loved ones, but also, to realize your goals as well.
Yeah, because I think we all kind of get that mom guilt.
Oh,
over
for
our head.
real. Yeah, that's real.
Yeah. I don't think, does that ever go away?
No.
Okay. Did you get dad guilt?
You know what? We've been together for so long. It's definitely a team effort. Her going through getting her MBA, that was probably the most challenging time I think we've had together as a couple, because people don't quite understand, like, this woman, like this woman motivates the hell out of me almost on a daily basis, just on how productive she is with her time. And during that time, that, really that year when she was doing her MBA, like every second was occupied of something productive. She never ever sat down and like played on social media. She never sat down and watched, TV. There was no downtime. Everything was about, doing things for the family first. Like, she always take care of the girls, and, laundry or whatever, I outsourced a lot of things, just, I was able to kind of afford it now. So I was working as much as I could to help her out. And I had a full-time career as well. And I was also training, but we try to minimize the impact on the kids. We train early in the morning when they don't see us, they didn't ever felt us like not there.
Yeah.
We were always there, training together at 24-hour fitness at, 3:30 in the morning together. But we got to work out together, and that's how I think we made it work, is because we were always doing things together. Like, the training was together, our we food prep together. Like, it was totally a team effort. So,
yeah,
I started learning a lot on just efficiency and productivity of time. And so I think I've incorporated that more into my lifestyle. I feel like a slacker if I'm sitting around just kind of doing nothing now, but and it's amazing to me. I tell people all the time, that I've told her this too, is that, she's no longer had a full-time career, but she is just as busy as she's ever been. And she finds things to do that are not just, not that dumb. I mean, she's actually very productive and doing great stuff. And so to see someone so busy all the time, and I'm doing my thing, and, here we are together, and we're, our daughters make comments. How do y'all stay y'all just keep going? Y'all just keep doing what you do. I don't know. I like it. I mean, it keeps me excited. It gives us, makes us appreciate the time we have with our girls when we get a chance to, they're starting to have more of their own personal lives. And as they become more social, work, my oldest is working now, and the baby is just a social butterfly. And we're doing everything we can to make sure she's, carting her around back and forth to our social events. And, we have, we just make it work.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love that you said that you did work out. I don't know if it's anymore at 3:30 in the morning, because I love that time. I don't always wake up at 3:30, and I won't sometimes even share the time that I wake up sometimes with a lot of people, because they're like, when do you go to sleep? And I'm just like, I am excited to get up for the day. Like, I want to go work out. Like, it's my time. And so you guys, listen, I'm not the only one. I enjoy the time, and I appreciate your guys' busyness, because I'm like that too. And I just have this zest for life. And that's what like I said, that's kind of what I really loved about you guys, is you guys do that together, and you can see your heart for people and your heart for each other. So let's get in. So you guys got your pro card together, which is not normal for anybody that doesn't know a lot about IFBB pro cards. First of all, they're not easy to obtain. Secondly, I don't know if very many people ever get their pro cards together. And it sounds like, Dr. Morales, you were bodybuilding and kind of along with her, and then you decided to compete after she was already competing. Is that correct? Or is that kind of how that worked? And then you guys go together?
A little bit, she this is kind of a story for Corrie. Of course, Corrie, I'm not going to take anything from Corrie, but she tells a story.
Well, okay. So Roland did powerlifting in high school, and we got into the gym together in college. I started weight training with him then. And then it just, from that point on, it was part of, who we were, and we continued doing that. And then whenever we were newly married, I saw some ladies in the gym where I was training that were getting ready for a competition. And so I was like, oh, that looks, kind of cool. Like, maybe one day I'll do that. But I knew we wanted to have a family. So I was like, later. And ended up when Roland got into private practice, one of his first patients was a personal trainer and a longtime bodybuilder. And so I was like, all right, now's the time. So jumped into prepping for a show with her. And I was like, oh, you know, just like a lot of people, one, it's a bucket list thing. Like, I'm going to do one. Here I am 10 years later. And
I think you're overachiever, but I appreciate that.
And anyway, from there, I mean, that's where it went. I was not prepared for the rebound from that first show. It hit me hard. And then I was like, got to do it again to like get back some, you know, gain back some of this ground I lost. And then, it became the lifestyle. And then Roland was like, okay, yeah, let's do this.
He asked me to do it. And
all right, let's do this together. Cause he was still training, you know? Yeah. So we did one together. And then again, that was,
I was hooked. Like, once I saw it mirrored kind of my personality of discipline and sacrifice and just constantly see improvement over time, I just really appreciated it even more. And just kind of, you only get one body, and you know, it's up to you and what you want to do with it. And I just found it very rewarding to kind of sculpt my body the way I wanted to look like, as you know, looked up to the previous bodybuilders of who I looked up to, like Mr. Labrada. You know, Mr. Labrada, you know, if you ever get to meet that dude, he is just an amazing human being.
That's on my bucket list to meet him. I've actually watched a lot of his interviews. I watched your interview with him as well.
Yeah, he is a very special man. And anyway, I looked up to his physique, and I'm like, that'd be great. And you know, I was getting a little bit older, but I thought it was something I wanted to try. And at that time, our kids were getting older, and so we get able to, you know, not because they weren't babies anymore. They were for the most part self-sufficient, and I think we could make it work. And you know, Corrie and I just did a team effort. We just, you know, trained together, we prepped together, and you know, we had coaches, and
that's so awesome.
You know, and here you go, and here we are 10 years later.
Yeah, and you guys you also sponsor the Olympia, correct? Both of you do. And
that's kind of a me thing. Like when I got into bodybuilding, competing, I noticed right off the bat, I'm like, wow, you know, her first coach was a bodybuilder, and I started noticing some of the needs for some women who lose a lot of breast volume from just the prep and inflation of their breasts, and you know, extra skin on their abdomen, and you know, having kids, and their bodies change, and they want to have a little more femininity, and they choose augmentation or skin surgery, and that's what I do. Like, I can do that.
Yeah.
And then I coined this phrase called the fitdoc, and then so I started kind of carrying the term branding of fitdoc, and being the only plastic surgeon bodybuilder. And I've always endorsed all my shows here in Houston, and you know, in the state of Texas. I support the NPC, and then the next level, I got introduced to the next level, which is, you know, the national level, the Olympia, and then the Arnold, and you know, also become a promoter with Sean Ray, who's one of the legends of bodybuilding. So that's how I kind of evolved within the industry. And I think, you know, no one's ever heard of me. At least to kind of, hopefully they've heard my name and associate, you know, the fit doc with plastic surgeon who's also a bodybuilder.
Yeah. I think I kind of had heard your name floating around Fit Doc, and then I pieced it together, you know, after I followed your wife there, and I was like, oh, that's the kind of the same person there. So you guys get together. So yeah, you definitely kind of had that name floating around. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I just think it's cool that you got to, you know, you get to kind of give back, even if you don't plan to compete. You're still kind of on that side of things. You know, I understand that just from a very small scale of, you know, just being a judge and kind of just, I don't have any competitors. I don't train competitors. I don't have any dog in the race. I'm a great judge because I just love the sport.
That is great.
Well, same here. We love the sport. We love the people. You know, my new thing this year is I'm sponsoring my patients who want to compete. So, you know, my sponsor is really just to help them out. You know, I'm covering the registration, and, you know, if they do the NPC shows here in Texas or want to go nationals, I'm right behind them. But, you know, they're my patients, and they know they can trust me, and they know they have my full support. So that's my way of kind of giving back to the sport, and hopefully introduce, you know, more people to the sport. Because, you know, when you have women who've, you know, some have like mom makeovers and those kind of procedures, their families are watching them go to the transformation, and then they inspire them. And the next thing you know, their friends are trying it out, and they're dieting, and they're training. And that's how the sport kind of grows, is you introduce people to the sport who've never even thought about it. And I just think it's super inspiring. So that's my little thing of doing that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we're lucky. I'm in Michigan, and we're lucky to have Andrea Shaw here. So she's the Olympia winner, and she's a friend of mine. And she saw me when I first started bodybuilding. I was 18 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I was one of the first ones kind of in our area. And that's kind of like how we met. And she saw my picture on a wall. I did an interview with her, and I was like, I didn't know you said that. She was like, I want to be like her. I was like, you wanted to be like me? And I was like, what are you kidding me? But I was on like a nutrition store, like in a like a local store, and it was a picture of my bodybuilding competition there. And but we happened to have her, and like she just kind of talked about giving back to the sport and how bodybuilding alone, I mean, it gets a bad rep for people that kind of don't understand it. And it's a 1% of the world, to be honest. I mean, there's very few people that are kind of in it to win it for the long term. And I think that I would place you guys there. And there's so much, and her and I talked about, there's so much more from bodybuilding than just the way that you look. It teaches you structure and all those things that you just got done talking about, that you implemented in your life, that carried into your careers, that your kids get to see. So even if they don't compete, or the people around you don't compete, they get to learn how to eat and see the structure and see the rewards, the delayed gratification.
Yes.
I think that bodybuilding teaches us. And I think that's missing a lot right now, especially.
Especially in society.
Yes. And, and I think increasingly it's getting worse, but, bodybuilding as a sport or even a hobby can teach you that delayed gratification, and just have this, like, this community, supportive, positive community around you. So it's kind of sounds like you guys, were doing that. So let me get into, there were some questions for Corrie about her kind of competing and how she obtained her pro card. The last question for Corrie was how much, and this is always a common question, and but how much weight would you let yourself gain in the off season and on season? Because you both are in very great shape. You look very healthy, because you see some bodybuilders, that go up and down, and maybe they haven't found that kind of sweet spot. But where do you kind of find yourself, Corrie, in that kind of happy spot between competing?
Great question. And as we all know, it's a mental struggle because we see what our body's capable of. We see ourselves at our leanest. And so, of course, we tend to be our own worst critic too, nitpicking ourselves. And I want to give a quick shout out to my coach, Whitney Jones. She's amazing. And I would say once I started working with her, my accountability increased drastically. And one, because of the person she is and how much I admire her. Also deciding to, I think it was really with her where I went to having a coach year round. Like previously, I, kept it kind of seasonal, like prep time specific, and tried to manage it on my own. But whenever I started to get more serious, and I got with Whitney right before, the year before I earned my pro card. So the year going into so it was just a mind shift for me that I was taking it to that next level. I wanted to be really serious. I wanted to really drive hard for my pro card. And so that's whenever I really started treating improvement season as a pro would. And so not letting myself sort of fall off the wagon too much. And as far as like hard and fast numbers, I would say that I try to limit my weight gain to 10, no more than like 12 pounds from stage weight in my improvement season. And again, it's tough because you need to gain some fat. Obviously, you need to eat more to be able to build muscle. And I feel like I have been constantly chasing the figure, the ideal figure physique for as long as I've been competing, because everyone's growing. So
it changes all the time.
Right. Exactly. And so, anyway, I say all that to say that I feel like I've found more discipline, more structure, more accountability through the years that I've been bodybuilding. I didn't have it. Like I said, that first show I did, I rebounded really hard and was not prepared for it at all. And it's just gotten better over time. So.
Yeah. And for my listeners, some of them that aren't familiar with competing, because again, I haven't been in involved in the competing world outside of judging. That rebound she's talking about is kind of when you diet down for your competition and you get really lean and you dry out for the day of the show, and then you kind of put on some weight, unwanted weight, without a plan. So I think the world around that has kind of changed too. I think there's a little bit more education around that, but I think we all that have competed has gone through that.
Yeah, it's kind of a rite of passage. I feel like you have to like experience it to know that like that's what I don't want to do again next time.
Oh yeah, because you can't just go back to eating whatever. Okay, so you said about 10 to 12 pounds, and so do you plan to compete like a long time more, or you don't really know, or how's that look for you?
Ooh, we lost our light.
1 second.
Well, he's fixing the light. I would like to continue to compete as long as I feel like I can healthfully, and doing 2, maybe, probably no more than 3 shows in a year, I feel like gives me a good opportunity to, because, once you diet down, you're like, okay, I'm already dieted down. If you can do a few shows at a time and take advantage of that, that's great. Assuming that you're, getting good feedback about the physique you're bringing to the stage. And then, again, but having that time off to enjoy life, to let your body, come back to a more normal, healthful place. I mean, we all know it's not super healthy to stay super lean constantly.
That's part of the sport. And that's part of the sport that I think people hang on to, that kind of speak negatively about it. It's like, we all know that that's not healthy the week of the show or 3 weeks before. Everybody knows that. It just happens to be part of the sport. I mean, football players get injured all the time because they practice and practice and practice. So it's just another part of the sport. So it's just for everybody to understand. We all very well understand that that's not where we can be at, although we feel good there. We love the way we look, but
I mean, I'm 43, so as long as they continue to offer masters shows, which I feel like is actually increasing, because the people are able to more healthfully compete for a longer term. I feel like in bodybuilding, we've gotten to a point where I think we're hopefully generally competing a little bit smarter. And, we as masters are the ones with disposable income that can go to shows and, travel and that sort of thing. And that's part of what Roland and I've talked about as well, is making the shows that I do, destination or trips as part of it, whatever. So I've put in my application for the Masters Olympia. So we may be going to Romania this year. We'll see. I'm going to keep competing. I feel like as long as I can do it safely and I'm still enjoying it and having some measure of success in it.
Very cool. And what about you? Are you going to compete anymore? Or what's that look like for you?
Man, it hurts me to say that I don't think I'm going to be on the stage anytime in the near future for a while. Yeah. I love the sport, and I love being on stage. I love posing. I loved everything about it. But having it's a hobby for me, and I still train like a bodybuilder. I still eat like a bodybuilder. Yeah. I compete through Corrie, so I help her with her training. I'm there every show she goes to. I'm going, even if she tells me not to go, I'm going. Because I want to be with her. I know how to help her, right? Because I've done it. Yeah. I know how to do the tanning. I understand the sleeping. I understand, not making your tan run. I'm backstage with her and helping her pump up. Like, to me, that's me living and being on stage. And there's no one prouder seeing, like, other than herself, than me. I'm that idiot screaming in the audience.
Honestly, you're probably more proud than she is. My husband, we've been together for 22 years. We've been married 11, and he was with me my entire time competing, from start to finish, to injuries, to retired competing, to all the things. And I remember that. And that's why I'm like, man, these guys are awesome. And you can see it between you two. I mean, it just reminds me of my husband and myself, and how he used to look at me, competing. And I would remember just seeing him, and people would say to me, I want somebody that looks at me like that. And I'm like what?
Mm.
But you're up there. And he was more proud of me, I think, than I was of myself. So honestly, you're probably even a little bit more proud to see her on there than she
Yeah.
is for herself, because she's in the mix of it and she's doing the work, and you kind of just,
Yeah.
you're a machine at that point,
Right.
but you're in there and you're still in your awe and you're so
And
proud. So,
critical of ourselves in the
yeah.
moment. Like, oh,
Yeah,
I meant to
true.
do this and I didn't do that, or
Yeah.
whatever the case
Yeah.
may be.
Yeah. So that's cool. I think that definitely serves a place too, is, the husband or the spouse, or, the fan that comes along with you, because, Lord needs, you need that support,
Yes.
when you're down. And like you said, you're most critical. So I'm going to get into a little bit of Dr. Morales. You are a plastic surgeon. Obviously, I've listened to some of your story and how you got into medicine, or not medicine, but surgery versus medicine after medical school. And so if you want to share that, just really, just real briefly, kind of how you got into that, why you got into that. And then the questions that I had for you, one of the most questions pertaining to like the fitness industry was, what are some of the most common surgeries that you do for, whether it's a physique competitor, or like you said, maybe somebody that's lost weight and whatnot. So like, what are some of the most common? So why did you want to become a surgeon? And then what's the most common procedures that you see in your practice?
Sure. So I have a kind of I've always wanted to be a plastic surgeon, believe it or not. Grew up in looking up to my dad. My dad was a medical sculptor at the Galveston Shriners Hospital, which is a children's hospital down here in closer to Houston. And that's a charity hospital, and they only take care of children who don't have any money, and families don't have money to have reconstructive surgery, burns, orthopedics. So my dad worked with the burn children. He was a medical sculptor for 40 years. And every child went through the medical sculptor division, which is my dad's division. Every child through 40 years, he touched every kid there. And he worked alongside, next to plastic surgeons, making silicone prostheses, making the pressure garments and silicone prostheses to control the burn scars for every child that came through that hospital. And so, I grew up going I want to be my dad. So I would go to my dad's office in the summertime when he would let me. And I was just in awe, like everything he did. He was, sculpting ears out of silicone. He was making glass eyes. He was making noses. He was doing all these really cool things. And I thankfully I got my dad's artistic talents. And so I was, he taught me, he showed me how to do things. And I was sculpting ears and noses when I was like age 7.
Wow.
And we're sitting on the ground making doing a clay model of an ear, and plastic surgeons are walking by looking at me because they're talking to my dad, and they're like, you're just watching me do this stuff, and you're gonna be a plastic surgeon one day. And that's what stuck.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dad, I just want to be you. And he's like, you're gonna be me and more, and you're gonna be a doctor one day. And he didn't care what kind of doctor I was. He said, you can be a dentist, you can be a chiropractor, you can be whatever, but he goes, you're gonna be a doctor one day, and you're gonna be better than me. And so I kind of took what, I want to do what he did eventually, but, eventually at another high level, which is what plastic surgery is. It's a combination of artistic sculpting and just you have an aesthetic eye for it. And I think those surgeons who have a little more artistic abilities are able to kind of show that in their work. And so I've kind of held that, to me close to heart, and kept my head down. I was Hispanic, in a very white community, and a lot of people told me you're not going to do anything. You're not going to be anything. And, my parents always told me you can do whatever you want to do. You just work hard and study hard, and you can do whatever you want. And thankfully I had my parents that told me that,
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I just went to school, and my job was school, and I wanted to get, I didn't have any money to go to college. My dad told me you have 3 choices. You go to military and you get loans, or you're going to work. Which one are you going to do? Which one are you going to do, son? I'm like, well, I'm gonna get some scholarships. So I did that. And then I took the loans out. And so, my job was school. I paid for I'm still paying on my school debt. And it was a totally investment, but I treated it as a job, and I got the best grades I could. And, I'm very blessed to get into a very, very competitive specialty in medicine is, plastic surgery. It's At the time when I interviewed for a plastic surgery spot, there was only 78 spots in the nation.
Wow.
It's really, really hard to get in, but thankfully I was able to make it happen, and did my residency in Galveston, where my dad was working. And so I got to work alongside my mentors. I trained with my mentors who told me when I was a kid. I'm telling you, my mentors knew me when I was a kid, telling me I was going to be a plastic surgeon. And I just remember that first day I was actually working alongside one of my mentors. He was teaching me how to do burn scar contracture revision.
Yeah.
And it was
that just gave me chills. That's so cool. Like how full circle that comes. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really one of those special days. And, you know, I have a picture of me and my, one of my plastic surgery mentors who told me I was going to be a plastic surgeon up on my wall right now in my office. And my dad took that picture of me my first day.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's really cool. So it kind of all started that planted that seed. Those guys planted that seed, and you were involved in that, and you got to see kind of the impact because so you have to understand, like, I'm retired bodybuilder, I guess you could say. And so I'm kind of part of a wellness, like the wellness world, where there's a lot of negativity around some plastic surgery and whatnot. And there's a balance, I think, between some of it. But there's more to plastic surgery than just changing the way somebody looks. It's there's actually people. I didn't realize it was so hard to get into. How competitive it was. I mean, coming from somebody that knows really nothing about plastic surgery aside from the surgery that I had myself, you don't really think about like that it would be competitive to get into, but you can change lives by doing that, like you said, either whether it's with kids or whatnot, or even, people that lose hundreds of pounds and, change that skin and just feel so much better. Being, in the fitness space for 25 years now, I've had lots of people have lots of skin, and you can't do anything about the skin. So that's where, like you said, you can come in.
It's one of those, my special, I've always wanted to be, what I do. And I always saw myself as, being in private practice and doing, ideally aesthetic surgery. I find it very artistic.
Yeah.
We get trained in all reconstruction. So as reconstructive plastic surgeons, I've literally touched every part of the human body and reconstructed it. Like, that's my job. Yeah. That's what I'm trained to do. And just aesthetic plastic surgery is just a very small facet of what I know what I can do. And I just enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge of the artistry of it. I enjoy the challenge of, I find it very rewarding to give back women some confidence, or men giving some confidence in their bodies and how they look and how they present themselves to society. And I think it's very inspiring. My specialty as an aesthetic surgeon is breast and body. Like, that's just what I do a lot of it, and I enjoy it. From people who lost a ton of weight, and you've seen these people in bodybuilding lost tons of weight, have tons of skin. Like, you can't work that off.
Yeah,
your skin's never gonna get tighter. It is what it is. You have 4 or 5 babies. You get diced, your muscles separate in your abdomen. You have this fullness of your abdomen all permanently. You can't fix that. I can fix it.
Yeah.
Right. There's extra skin. I can. You can't. There's no laser. There's no magic cream. There's no red laser. There's no waist trainer that's gonna make your skin go away.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if it bothers you enough, you have options of surgery, which is to remove it and improve your contour, and maybe you feel a little bit better about yourself. And I would say most women do, who seek these surgeries, do find they have a little more confidence. They stand a little bit taller on stage. They feel a little more feminine with a little more volume they've lost from pregnancies or just a lot of weight loss. And you can see it in how they present themselves, not just on stage, but actually in life. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think society has become more accepting of aesthetic surgery and how we can help people build their confidence.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's a really good point in building confidence. So I guess that would lead me to the question, do you offer or have your patients go through any type of like questionnaire counseling or anything like that to make sure that, that's what they want to do to change? I mean, obviously they come to you, and if you don't do it, then they might go try to find somebody else. Right. But, do you go through any process like that with patients?
I would probably say, after doing this for 10 years, I have probably a minor in psychology.
I bet you do.
I do. you get to know someone. I get a pretty good sense of people's personalities and their desires and what they expect out of the procedure, or maybe what they have really no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, there's a lot of information on the internet. That's a good and a bad thing.
Yeah.
But there's some people that are trying to find, this is where you see these on TV. Find these people that have just gone overboard, and that's not surgeons doing that to them. That is them seeking a surgeon who at some point, some surgeon just wants money and they're going to do it.
Sure.
And most often the case, they're actually not plastic surgeons. They're these so-called cosmetic surgeons. It's a little bit different type of, I guess I wouldn't even call it accreditation. It's just doctors who just want to start doing cosmetic surgery. That's exactly what it is. But I would say most plastic surgeons who are trained are going to have a counseling session somehow. And if they start having, like we call red flags of what they say about the procedure, you got to kind of dive into that psyche and figure out what is the driving force here. Is it healthy?
Yeah.
Is it healthy?
Yeah.
I tell Corrie all the time, I turn people away all the time.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I guess that's kind of what
I'm telling you, I do it all the time. Like, I don't need your money.
Yeah.
I'm here to help you. I want to help people. I want happy people.
Yeah.
If you do surgery on someone who really has unreal expectations or just being just ridiculous, they're going to be unhappy after surgery. And I don't want to do that.
Don't got time for that.
I just don't. No, I don't. I want to. My patients, you ask my staff, like my patients are generally very happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I like working with them. I actually like them. So that's one of my criteria to work with somebody, that, I have to kind of like you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good
right.
criteria.
He has to pick him too. They don't just pick him.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
Yeah,
like, you have a choice in me. I have a choice in you.
I love that. I love that so much. And I think, backtrack just 1 second of what you said about kind of some of the unrealistic expectations. I mean, we've all seen like the TLC shows and the craziness and, that, and obviously that's, a very small percentage. It's just, unfortunately, gets a lot of press because it's different. But what about, I saw you post the other day, and I'm big on this. I shared this maybe a couple weeks ago, is the filters on, on
Was that
Instagram.
today?
Oh, was that today? Okay.
Yeah.
I did it. Yeah, I did a few, maybe last week or so. I kind of put my face like on a picture of 4 different pictures, and it was just like a no makeup face in regular like bathroom lighting. And it just looked like me. It was fine. And then, but then like the one, I'm like, oh my gosh, like my lips were, I didn't even really think it looked that good, but it was very much kind of this skewed image of what people were looking at, like just big lips, and eyes were slanted, and then there was like a freckle one in there, so and there was one with regular makeup. And is that pushing towards you? Are people are you seeing that unrealistic expectation? Like, where is that? And then also, like, how young do people try to come to you to change things?
It's I just posted today. It's really kind of like one of the bane of our existences as plastic surgeons. You see it in kids now. Like these teens are using these apps to, to kind of warp their face or warp their body. Like, you can make these apps are now warping your waist and making your butt bigger, your breast bigger. It is amazing. Yep. Like, all this technology now on social media, these filters, and it's just not real. Like, it's just crazy to me to see some patients I know I follow on social media, and they come in and they look completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different. And they're asking me basically to kind of recreate what they see on filters. I'm not kidding. They want me to kind of do these things, like trim down the jawline, more lips, more fillers to the lips. So
they'll bring you a filter and say, can you make me look like this?
Not exactly like that. It's not exactly that point, but that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
That's just what they're trying to do. It's, it's
I can see that happening.
Yeah, it's obviously much more common with the facial filters and facial fillers that we do for augmentation of what parts. But for body, kind of the same thing. I have patients come in, they're like, this is what my body looks like. This is what I did on the app. Can you make it look like this? Can you make it look like that? I'm like, no.
You're like, a lot of hard work could make you look like this, and I can fix the other parts.
It just blows my mind every time someone shows that to me on their phone. Like, you gotta.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
It is sad.
It is sad. It is.
It makes me nervous for my kids. I'm real careful about things like that. You know, I mean, you guys have daughters and my kids are much younger, but it's, you know, I'd have my head in the sand if I didn't have those things out and know what was
Yes.
happening and looking at them. And I show my kids sometimes like, this is crazy. Like we should never do this, you know, so they're already kind of exposed to seeing that and saying, well, that's not right, you know. But it is scary because you just don't really know where that's going to go. And these, you know, all of these, you know, body dysmorphia type things that already exist, you know, can get even worse.
Well, body dysmorphia is a great word. I mean, people should look it up, but it is rampant in the realm of aesthetic surgery, of what I do. And it's also very, very prevalent in bodybuilding.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I had it.
I would say most bodies have some mild version of body dysmorphia. Like you know, I'm running around the body fat 10%. I feel like I'm to say the word fat.
There's obviously a sense of vanity in everybody that's kind of out there. And that's okay. Like, I think that's fine to have these goals, but you kind of have to like ride that line of reality and you know, and be okay with that. But yeah, I mean, my friends and I that got done competing, we very much know that we had a lot of body dysmorphia. We look back and we're like, oh my gosh, like what's wrong with me? You know, because it's a big deal. And you should seek help if that's something that you are, you know, experiencing for sure, because there are ways around that, and that's something that can be addressed properly. So back to kind of the filter thing. I guess back to some of the things that you do. So you do a lot of breast implants and things like that to help women, you said, with fullness and you know, maybe if they just want bigger breasts for whatever reason, whether it's competing or just kind of feeling more secure with their bodies. The question that I had from my world, so I personally had implants in 2007. I immediately hated them. That day I asked my surgeon to take them out. I said, "Can you I hate these." I hated the way they felt. I think I went in for the wrong reason. I fractured my knee and I was in crazy competitor mode, and I thought, well, I'll just get implants that make me sit down. It was the wrong reason to go get implants. So I just one weekend, I said, my boyfriend, it was my husband, my boyfriend at the time. I said, I'm getting implants. He's like, you are? And I said, yeah. He's like, when? I said, Friday. He's like, okay. So I went, got my implants and I begged him to take them out. And he's like, no, some people go through that. You know, I think you should just keep them. It's a big change, you know. So he kind of talked me through that a little bit. I don't think he did a really excellent job at that, but, you know, he sent me home and so 3 years later, I ended up getting them taken out because I still hated them. But they made me very sick. And this is before breast plant illness was like a thing and I didn't know. And so I was like, well, let me just take them out. I got better immediately when I took them out, but I have a lot of autoimmune things going into that. So I think that maybe flared that up or what have you, but I was good, you know, shortly after that and everything got better. And so that was a big question in my world. I mean, they thought I had MS and all kinds of crazy madness. But I got them taken out and that was better. Now I do have many friends that have them for years and they love them and they're fine. And I have always been like, well, that's great because that's the most common scenario is that you're fine. So the question that I had for you was if you suspect that as a surgeon, do you do explants? Do you suggest taking them out? What's like the steps that you take when somebody comes to you? Because now it's kind of even a buzzword now, you know, breast plant illness is, I don't know if you hear that or not, but you know, in the wellness kind of space it is. So what do you advise like patients that might come to you for something like that?
I'm happy to educate patients on the literature and research that you know, that we have in plastic surgery in our societies. I don't argue with anybody who feels like their implants, if they have any question of taking their implants out, I do not argue with you. Yeah. I believe you. I believe you. And if you say you feel like your implants are causing you sick.
Yeah. So you just take them out.
I'm not, there is no, if they expect a fight, I'm not fighting you. If you want them out, I'm happy to get them out.
And you do that for them. You do that for them or you send them somewhere else?
No, I do that for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to take them out and there is no question about it. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
And if they want to learn
Yeah.
some information or they want to hear that, I was like, I'm sure you read all this. So I've read all this. And then I'm like, what are we talking about then? Let's just get them out. You want to get them out? Let's get them out. I'm not here to convince you to keep them. That is not what you're here for. You want them out. I'm here to provide a service. I can get them out. There might be some consequences of maybe some loose skin or stretched out, breast tissue that needs to be adjusted. You need to understand what's going to happen, what kind of decisions you're going to have. You're going to lose volume, you're going to lose shape. It's something that you'll never, ever look like you'll have breast implants ever again. You need to understand these realities. And then as long as you understand that, I'm good to go. But I don't.
And you support them through that.
I'm 100% supportive. You want them out? Let's do it. Not arguing with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can actually, so if you take them out, you can help them kind of look better. You could lift the skin or what have you at that time.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so I've taken that. You've probably done that a couple of times to take them out.
Many times. Unfortunately, in the past couple of years, it's been more than I ever expected. But with that said, that's still the second most common procedure we do as plastic surgeons in the United States. It's still, breast augmentation still ranking the number 2 by far. Yeah. In the world, it's probably almost number 1. The U.S. is a lot more sensitive to the so-called BII than the world is. The world just completely ignores it. Okay. Has much more of an audience in the United States. Yeah. And it's just it's just a different, I guess, belief of the symptoms associated to it. Our society as a society doesn't say it doesn't exist. That's not what we're saying. It's just we're trying to figure out what's going on, because there is a small subset of women who truly do get better than if the implants are out. Yeah. Yeah. But there's also a subset of women who get them out and actually feel worse, and they end up getting their implants back. And that is more of a common subset of patients that you guys on social media don't ever hear, because these women on social media are like, oh, my implants are calling me sick, I'm getting sick, and they get them out. Guess what happens 6 months later? You come back to this guy here and put them back in. And are they saying that back on social media? They're not. Yeah. They're very quiet.
And that needs to be talked about.
It happens a lot. And I would challenge all my colleagues who are watching this, tell me that it's not true. My plastic surgeon colleagues that will tell you it's true. Is that all the loud ones that are saying it's, they, as soon as they get them back in, they don't talk about it anymore. Yeah. And that's, we're not going to go down that route, but we're here to help patients and help them feel better. And if they feel better without the implants, get them out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's good and you're supportive and you're like, okay, whatever you need, we'll fix your skin or whatever we can do, because at the end of the day, you are there to help them feel good and better and confident and all of that. But that's a really interesting point about, that's funny, because I actually do have a friend who took hers out and then she got them put back in, because she was like, I can't stand this. And she actually got them bigger the second time she put them back in. because
to each his own.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, this is a secret. This is not a secret. I'm just telling you, it happens more than you think.
That needs to be talked about. Because I think more.
Well, I'm actually very concerned to talk about it, because then you kind of inflame the people that really feel like this is a need that all women should have their implants out. Yeah, there's a very, very loud subset of women who feel that they have BII and they get their implants out, and they feel like all women, they strongly believe all women with implants should have all their implants out, and they get very vocal and very angry. And I just don't want that kind of attention. I'm here to help you. Yeah. If you feel better with implants, great. And if you don't want implants, happy to take them out. I just want to, help women feel better about themselves. Better.
Sure.
That's it.
And I do know the breast implants have been around for ages and ages. And that was the other question that I had too about breast implants was, how often do you have to get them redone? Because you hear that every 10 years or whatever the case. I don't know anything new about that information. And that was a question, like, once you have implants, what's the suggestion? Like, how often should you come in, get them checked? Do you have to get them redone? How does that work?
So that's a myth that's required to remove them every 10 years. Actually, not true, especially for the generation of implants we have right now. Implants are made kind of like iPhones. They just get better every generation. Yeah. Currently on our 5th generation, and the newer style implants, the generation 3 and 4 and 5, you can run these implants over with a car and they're totally fine. They're extremely strong, very durable. They're designed to not rupture. They're designed for softness and feel and a look. These are, I would say, 95% of implants in the United States are going to be a silicone product versus a saline product. They perform a little bit different. They look and feel a little bit different. But they both, a lot of women have these procedures with implants. It's but if you have, as long as you age, your body habit doesn't change over time. Like you're not gaining a lot of weight, you don't have multiple kids, your implant's gonna be fine typically. But what's gonna change is your body around it. Your skin gets a little bit looser. You lose some breast tissue with pregnancies, or you lose some weight, and your breast tissue gets a little bit looser over the implant. That happens a lot more often than you think. Women are just tired of having, they just don't want to have bigger implants anymore. They want to downsize. And so they downsize a little bit. That happens probably the most often you think. But the implants like in the 70s and 80s, those implants were made a little more of a liquid silicone. And those, when they ruptured, they kind of make a mess around the implant. Silicone doesn't like run around your body. It's not true. It doesn't run around your body. It stays is within the capsule, the scar bag that forms around the implant. It stays in there. So those implants obviously will have problems.
But the new implants, I don't know if you've heard, and Roland would tell you this, that they call them like the gummy bear. So it's like,
I have heard that term.
You have that gummy bear and you cut it in half and it stays completely, sort of in that same state. It doesn't leak out at all. That's the newer technology.
So if it did happen to rupture, it just stays.
Yep.
And then
if it does rupture for some reason, you won't even know it. The most common cause for an implant rupture is it's called iatrogenic, which means it's caused at the implantation of surgery. So a surgeon accidentally touches it with a needle or actually grabs it with a sharp instrument. That's the most common cause for a rupture to happen. It's not just being in your body. It's extremely unlikely. It's just the nature of the implants are so strong. You can get in a car accident and break every bone in your body and your implants will be fine. It's just amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So that is a myth. You don't have to go get them redone as long as you're doing fine and they look fine and you feel fine. Then you don't have to get them redone, because that's always been a myth. And I was never concerned.
To me, it amazes me it's persisted so long.
That's weird.
It's quite interesting. But like for Corrie's, she has the latest generation of implants. These implants are pretty much going to die with her.
That's right. Going to the grave with them.
Yeah. They're going to look great.
They're going to look great. As long as she maintains her body, they're going to stay where they put them. And we go through, maybe we can touch on that, but exercising, there's some exercise that cause problems with moving implants.
Yeah.
Where you
that
don't
was the
want
next
them.
question.
That's one of my soapboxes is as a plastic surgeon who kind of specializes in bodybuilders with implants. It's when I first started getting into bodybuilding, I noticed women who were bodybuilders who had implants under the muscle, and they've been training their chests just like guys do. And what happens, that implant gets, pushed out to the side and ends up on their lats. And that's a problem. It's because they've been training your chest. And this is like one of my big soapboxes. Don't train your chest if you have implants under your muscle. Please don't do it.
Okay. So you said, say that again. So don't train your chest if you have implants under the muscle.
Correct. Don't train your chest for the purpose of getting stronger if you have implants under your muscle, which is 95% of the time for augmentation, we're putting implants under the muscle partially.
Yeah, that was the other question. What do you suggest, under or over? Yeah.
So chest press, chest flies, and dips, those 3 exercises put a tremendous amount of force on the chest, on the pectoralis major. And really, there's nothing really stopping that muscle from pushing that implant to the side. I mean, I did a revision surgery not on Monday. On Monday, she had, bodybuilded for 20 years. She had implants under her muscle. She said her doctor never told her not to do like chest up, and she was doing chest up. And when I had her, she lay on the table on her back, her implants were on her lats. They're on her lats.
Wow.
That's a problem. So that's something I can fix. And so that's what I tend to do now more often is as kind of an expert in breast and body, I'm doing a lot more reconstructive surgery, which is kind of what I normally do, what I used to do. Reconstructive surgery for aesthetic purposes. So I'm fixing that, putting the implant where it should be again and fixing that space, make sure that it doesn't happen again. But those patients, we have a very hard talk, kind of real talk, kind of come to Jesus talk. You're done training your chest forever.
Yeah.
If you're done.
That's super important.
It is very important. I'm happy to kind of preach that all day to everyone, and everyone who comes.
But I mean, if you're a bodybuilder, you'll put them over the muscle.
There's two athletes that do implants over your muscle, and that's a bodybuilder, women's bodybuilding, and women's physique, and then powerlifters.
Yeah, powerlifters.
Those women for bodybuilding specifically, they're judged on the muscle density of their pecs. They're judged on the striations of their chest, so they have to train their chest. So having an implant on top of the muscle does not compromise their ability to train their chest. They can train all day. It makes no difference if they train.
And it'll stay where it's put.
Yeah, but the consequence of having an implant on top of your muscle is that weight of that implant really is only supported by your skin. And so if you can imagine a breast implant that weighs 400, 500 cc's, over time, over 20 years, those implants are kind of on your abdomen. Yeah, it's just the nature of heavy breasts. I mean, it's age, gravity. You got these two things pulling you down. Nothing's going to stop it. It is what it is. That's a consequence of having implants on top of your muscle. But when you have an implant under your muscle, the muscle holds the scar tissue around the implant up, so it resists the force of gravity, or resists the force of the aging descent of the soft tissue changes. So some women are like, I can't believe you put implants under the muscle, and bodybuilders. Everyone, if you're my patient and you're a bodybuilder and you're not a physique or you're not a bodybuilder, you're gonna get implants partially on your muscle, and you'll have breasts that look great, not just on stage, but in the rest of your career and your life, all the time as you age. Because I tell my athletes all the time, your time in bodybuilding is going to be a flash in your life. So we're talking about maybe 2 or 3 years max. For most people, max. It's not. She's rare, right? But usually
we're not talking about the overachiever next to you. Okay, we're talking about normal people.
But that's the reality of it. Most careers for most bodybuilders is going to be 3 to 5 years, something like that. So they need to have breasts that they be happy with really for the rest of their lifetime. And that's kind of the goal for, at least in my hands, with breast augmentation, is that you will have a result that you're going to love for the rest of your life. That's going to age very well with you. That your implants stay put where I put them. That you're not training your chest and pushing your implants out the side, so I don't have to fix it 10, 15 years from now. Yeah, it's something.
I love that information, because that is not common information. Because you go to surgeons, and I mean, even when I did, and he's like, oh yeah, just go ahead and just train whatever, and obviously I didn't have mine long enough. They didn't do anything to my skin. It was fine. I genetically, I think I have good skin elasticity, so I was fortunate there. But at the same rate, I mean, he was just like, yeah, just go ahead. And that's most girls. And I can see a lot of people I know right now that I can see them kind of move, and they're just steady training chest hard. That's really, I'm going to clip that, and I'm going to make sure everybody sees that.
I literally have like 4 or 5 videos on YouTube about this. I talk about on social media all the time. And even, I mean, my videos are very specific. Don't do these 3 exercises. You can do whatever else you want. Don't do these 3 exercises. It's almost on a daily basis. Well, what can I do? Can I do this? I'm like, yes, you can do that. Yeah. Like, you can, like, I have a bunch of people as firefighters, as military, they have to do push-ups. My CrossFit people, and if you're a CrossFit person, they have to do burpees. They have to do, whatever that swinging, like, pull-up thing is. You can do all that, because that's body weight. Body weight, I have no issues with. Body weight is not going to cause this problem. We're talking about training with weight for a purpose of getting stronger. That is the key phrase. Yeah. If you're training your chest to get stronger with weight or machines that are heavy, that's the problem. You do that over years. It might happen in 5 years. It might happen in 10 years. It might happen in 2. I've seen someone who do it in 2 years. I've seen it happen. Wow. And she's like, I wish I would have met you before. I'm like, me too. So I got to fix it now. And then you got to, spend all this extra money for me to fix it. And then, it changes your lifestyle and how you train. But I tell my women, who are interested in breast augmentation or athletes, like, use that time that you would train your chest, do something else. Do your shoulders.
Train your booty.
Train your butt.
Yeah.
You know,
Butts are in now.
Right.
There's so many other things to do with that. You know, maybe 15 minutes of your time, which you would have done your chest. Now,
Yeah.
I just gave you a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. You can have a better butt because of me.
Yes.
Train it more often.
Yeah.
No, that is really great information for the breast implants, because I mean, even coming from, you know, my own, this little fitness world that I do now, and obviously I work out every day. And lots of my friends and clients, they have implants, and that's really valuable information. I'm glad
Well,
that you shared
please
that.
spread the word. Say Dr. Morales talks about it, but you know,
100%.
that's just me and my experience. You know, it's, you know, I feel like I'm kind of unique, and then I'm a bodybuilder. My wife's
Yeah.
a bodybuilder. My
Yes,
wife has
absolutely.
implants.
Yep.
My wife has implants that I put in.
Yep.
You know, these are things I intimately know. Like,
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
argue with me when I have personal trainers trying to mouth off to me and saying, "Oh, you know, that's not true." I'm like, bro, like,
Why would
no.
anybody argue with you about that? You're like
Because
literally trying to save their life.
my athletes go back to their trainers. Their trainers like, "Oh yeah, Dr. Morales, I know what you're talking about. You know, I've been doing this for 20 years." I'm like, listen, you just don't know. And I'm like, bless your heart. No, he's not right. Listen to your doctor.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
go find another trainer. And if your trainer is going to give you that hard of a time about it, you have the wrong trainer. And that's basically what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that information. I could keep you guys here all day. I just have a few more questions
Sure.
from the people and for myself too. I want to talk. Okay, so that's probably the most common that you do for women. And you said like tummy tucks and, you know, like the mommy makeover kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then what about the guys? I know what's the most common procedure for the men that you do in your office?
I do. It's called gynecomastia, which is the breast gland on men. And
Yeah.
some guys genetically have more breast tissue than others, and you know, it can be very uncomfortable. It can be very painful. It's more of a cosmetic issue where it's a little more fullness at ballism. You know, it's very prevalent in the bodybuilding industry because you know, guys get really, really lean, and you basically have skin fat, and you have this little nugget of breast tissue and they can't diet hard enough to make it go away because it won't.
Oh yeah, you can see that on stage, and we all know we're like, you know, that you can't do anything
make
about
it go away.
Yeah, as a judge, I'm sure you see it.
Yeah, all the time.
Know, it's a cosmetic eyesore, and you know, some of the guys that you know are sensitive to the effect of glandular hypertrophy, where the gland grows, is very obvious on stage. And I think the judges might even pull them aside and say, "Hey, you need to kind of get that fixed." Because those guys tend to take these medications to suppress the estrogen, to decrease inflammation, which is actually very toxic. That medication, we start taking high doses, cause a lot more problems than they realize. And really the answer is just let me remove it. Just let me cut it out for you. And you're done. And then you get that confidence on stage back. And I love working my guys because you do the surgery for them, and the next season they come out, and man, they're just like chest is up, and they're flexing up, and they're not, they're posing better because they're not hiding. They're not trying to hide it. You know, you've seen it as a judge.
Oh yeah. You can definitely see it. And if they come back the next year and they've had that procedure done, I mean, they could have the same physique, but it goes from a 7 to a 10 just by their confidence alone standing up there.
That's exactly right.
You know, and if you guys that are listening to this, go back to Dr. Morales YouTube, you've got some patient stories on there. And I watched one of one of the guys that you did. And, you know, he talked about how he would have his wife stand in front of him in pictures and how much more confident he is. And I think that's probably, you know, that's obviously your mission, and so rewarding.
Very rewarding
for you to be able to have people just love their own life and love where they're at right now.
Absolutely.
That's a big deal. And so I wanted to talk about Botox real quick. Do you do Botox? I know it's not like a plastic surgery thing, but I've heard you talk about it a little bit, and there's lots of questions about it. So do you do that in your office?
I do. I still do my own. They're called injectables. So fillers, you know, cosmetic fillers, which are soft tissue hyaluronic acid fillers for usually for the face. Toxins are kind of a catch-all term for Botox and Dysport. You know, there's a new one called Daxi that just came out. And so these are for cosmetic purposes of the face, and for like the toxins, like Botox is one of them. It relaxes the muscles of the face that cause wrinkling.
Mm-hmm.
So typically the treatment areas are kind of be in the forehead, along the side of your eyes, maybe between the nose, those kind of things. And so it just helps you look a little more rested, a little bit less angry, maybe. It does kind of, I call it preventative aesthetic medicine, and that it helps you look a little bit younger, longer.
Yeah.
Because you're not frowning so hard. You look a little more rested. It does help. But it's something that's, it's you got to do it, on a scheduled basis. Most of the toxins last between 3 or 4 months. You got to go back and get it done again to maintain the effect. It's not a permanent medicine.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
So Corey's on a schedule.
I'm on a schedule for sure.
So
I'm on a schedule.
So
he does his own injections. It's crazy.
You do?
Of course.
That's crazy.
My problem is I do things on myself to try and make sure things I feel safe and I'm comfortable doing to my family members. And so I tend to try things on myself, try different needles and what's comfortable, what pretty much to anything. I got that from my dad.
That's awesome. From that little statement, real quick, I did watch one of your interviews, and you said how, I think it was with Lee Labrada, and you were saying how you're never fully satisfied, and you, of course, you're proud of your work, but like you just always want to do better. You want to do better. You want to do better, and you're a constant student. And I love that about you too. Like you said about just training chest, and you just so paid attention to detail. And now we all know that Dr. Morales injects his own face so that he can provide safety to his own patients and friends.
That's true. It's true. It is.
That's awesome. Yeah. So when would you say to start getting Botox? Like, I mean, obviously everybody's going to be a little different, and there's, genetics that come into play. But what would be like the average?
I see the average age right now is probably in the mid 30s.
Okay.
Early 40s. We have a spa in my group practice that we have, and I'm very much a proponent of anti-aging and looking younger, longer. So skincare is like the number one thing. Like as soon as I got out and I could afford it, I had Corrie on a skincare regimen. That's why she still looks like she's 30, even though she's a lot older than that.
That's sweet.
But she's on a regimen. I have her on a schedule. My job is to make sure she looks younger as long as possible. So
with the Botox, and so how often do you, Corrie, what's your schedule like from your husband for the Botox? My husband ain't
whatever he says. Actually, how often is it? I don't know.
So she's every 2 months.
Every 2 months.
And the reason for that is it's an educational point, is that it's a medicine. Your body metabolizes it. The more active you are, either you're just very animated and you're always angry, like lawyers are always pissed off and they're always angry. And so
that's a very broad statement.
They frown a lot. And so they move the muscle, which burns the medicine. My CrossFitters and my hot yoga people, they're the worst. Like they're just sweating it out. Like they're in the outside in 110, Houston humidity, sweating it out basically. And so for them, they're going to last maybe 6 to 8 weeks max. Corrie, I mean, she trains her butt off every day. She's doing cardio, and then she's doing weight training, and she's kind of looks like this all the time sometimes. I mean, her RBF is real. It's real. And so she's on a 2-month schedule for her. And same thing for me. I'm on a 2-month schedule just because I'm very pensive. I have a very pensive look, and people think I'm pissed off all the time. I'm not. He
has RBF too.
I do. Yeah, I do.
But the point is, like, the faster your metabolism, basically, and the more active you are, the faster you're going to burn through it, the more often you need it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So basically, it's kind of like
someone who's in the office who just kind of, does normal off stuff, has normal kind of lifestyle. It's going to last you 3 to 4 months before you got to redo it. But if you're very active, my athletes specifically, I'm talking to you athletes, you should expect 3 months max. And it's very dose dependent. If you do a little bit, you're going to just burn through it faster. You do a little bit more, not so much.
So what's the average, what's the average dose for somebody like Corrie, or for like myself? I don't have it. I got a nice little webcam here. You guys can't see me. But Lord knows I need some. So what would be, what's the average dose? Like if I was to come in there and I've never had Botox before, and I'm 41 years old, and I got a forehead full of wrinkles. They're not too deep yet. But what would be like the average that you would say to start? Well,
it comes down to a technician who's doing it, right? My recommendations always stay something very natural appearing. I don't want to make you look frozen. I want you to still have expression to your face. I want you to look not weird.
Yeah, because I'm expressive.
So
like
if you're
Yeah.
and if you're we call a newbie to it,
Uh-huh.
You're probably being dosed most likely between 30 to 35 units, and it would be
Mhm.
treating your forehead here, a little bit on the side of your eyes, or like
Okay.
here in the middle between your eyes. That's
Yeah.
a filler. That's a filler
That's
area.
a filler. That's a
a
filler.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these are
Botox goes
Botox.
here, here, and here, and here.
And
And
this
so
is
for Corrie, as intense as she is, she's at 50. She's at 50 because I need to use a little bit more to last a little bit
More
longer.
is better.
No,
Not really.
she needs to last a little bit longer just because she trained so hard. And if I only
Yeah.
did 30 on her, she'd be doing it every month. And it's just, there's,
Yeah.
so I spread that 50 out a little more area, and she still is able to smile and raise her eyebrows and do things look normal.
Yeah.
Guys, we tend to use more just because we have more muscle tone. We need more. For me, I'm 60. I do 60 on mine. I have a big forehead, and I have very pensive kind of glabellar muscles, and so I use a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I'm an athlete, so I train every day. So I use a little more high dose than normal.
Yeah, Corrie, your face looks great, and that's your skin, your face, your forehead. I'm always like, oh, it's just your forehead looks so great.
But it also just kind of harping on skincare. So Corrie's in my spa, religiously. She's doing scheduled lasers. We're doing scheduled deep cleaning of her face. I'm changing her products of skincare on almost a yearly basis to constantly get her skin to reacclimate to a new type of product. Just tweak it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because your body gets acclimated to products or medications, stuff like that. So I always kind of tweak it with a different type of, different kind of a cocktail of skincare. But it's important. Skincare is probably the most important thing you can do as someone who's concerned about their aging that you can do. And it's,
and
it's
sunscreen.
Yeah. I do definitely sunscreen my face. I use a little bit of face self tanner, so it looks a little bit better. I look pretty dull if I don't have any. But so you said skincare, so that would be like the first step. So you offer that in your practice as well. So is that something people have to come to you to see, like to get skincare, or can they just they have to come in your office?
Yeah, they come. We have 2 spas in the city, in our city in Houston, associated to our clinics, and so we have great skincare lines. These are all medical grade products. There's not stuff you can go buy at Dillard's or Macy's or Walgreens. In our practice, we only carry stuff and we only use devices that actually work.
Yeah,
we will not sell you snake oil. This stuff works. All these companies that we buy these products from or devices, they spend $100,000 on research to show that their product works, so that ACPS surgeons will use it. Because if it doesn't show that it works, don't even come in don't walk through our door. We don't want you.
Yeah.
So we take a lot of pride in that because we care for our patients. We want our patients to have the best and things that work.
Yeah. Yeah. And so obviously that comes along line with all of your work. So I guess I never really thought about going to a plastic surgeon for skincare. You don't think that. You think of, like, oh, I got to get skincare from somebody. I'm clueless.
A lot of surgeons don't have spas associated to their clinics. That is a very well-known fact. But some of the more premier practices do. And I would like
dermatologists as well.
Yeah. Dermatologists are by far the skincare doctors, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of the skincare that we do is more for, rejuvenation and anti-aging. It's not like, some of the stuff dermatologists do is a little bit different. We overlap quite a little bit in some realms of skincare. But, our job as aesthetic surgeons is to help you look younger, longer. And so it's symbiotic, actually.
Yeah.
It's symbiotic.
Oh, I wish I was in Houston. Fun fact, I was born in San Antonio. So
nice. You're Texan. All right.
I've been in Michigan for most of my life, but I wasn't born here. So I love all this information. So you do your Botox every few months, and you will kind of obviously help each person that comes through and suggest what they should get done. And if you're a newbie like me, you might start kind of smaller and kind of see where my body gets going. And you don't want to like freak me out and, at first, because it's kind of like a slow thing. And then you also suggested is it like facials and things like that? So like Corrie, what do you get on like a monthly basis, I guess, maybe a longer, maybe every 3 months or whatever your husband decides to put you on regimen.
Yeah, I
Not
get whatever
everybody
the
has a husband that
esthetician
puts them on a
lady tells
skincare
me to
regimen.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a sister in practice that kind of have been taking care of her for a while. And so she's on a scheduled basis of kind of a deep cleaning device that kind of cleans her pores out, helps stimulate the collagen. We have a very mild laser to kind of just take away the fine kind of surface of the skin, help the younger skin to kind of come through. I just started on a new device that transmits energy into her soft tissue of the undersurface of her skin to help her skin shrink. So it's kind of slowing down the aging process of the jowling and the loosening of the neck. It's non-surgical, and it just helps kind of do this a little bit, just a little bit.
So I've done 2 of 3 of those treatments, and it's not for the faint of heart, y'all.
It hurts.
Like, it does.
It hurts.
But it's like, you know, we're willing
the price
to.
of beauty.
That's right. That's right. We're willing to endure a little pain to get that result. So
That's
I totally
awesome.
would recommend it, but yeah, I mean,
Corey's kind of unique. She's super tough, and I knew she could do it. So, but it's gonna, these little things you want to, you know, we start a little bit earlier. I start a little bit earlier with her because, you know, I get to see her over time, but started earlier, and we just kind of, you know, I'm trying to delay what's inevitable, which is surgical rejuvenation. Right. At some point, she might want to consider having, you know, this. Yeah. And that's where I come to play. But I can slow it down, I think, by at least 10, 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of, I work with a cardiologist, and that he was on not too long ago about heart health. And he's like, the one thing you can't change is age. He's like, that's the only factor you can't change. You can change everything else. But unfortunately, you seem like you're doing a really good job at helping that, helping everybody through that process. So I guess that was kind of my questions about that. Gosh, I wish I was in Houston. But if you guys are
get people from all over, come on down.
Yeah. Maybe I will. But if you guys are in the Houston area, definitely go check him out. I think you have such a well-rounded practice and life. I mean, you guys are simply amazing. I was so excited that you guys came on, you know. And another thing I want to mention before I let you guys go, because I know you guys got a lot to do, is that Corrie, you were so humble to come on, and you're like I followed you and I messaged you, and you immediately followed me back, and you were just, and I felt like we were like friends, like actual friends. Yeah. And I love that because, you know, a lot of people aren't like that. I'm very much like that. Like, you know, I take messages very seriously. And you know, when people message me on social media, I don't just ignore it. And I'm very friendly. And I do consider like, hey, you know, it's like, I just met this person. But I wanted to kind of make sure that you know that that's unique, especially kind of in your position. And I just really wanted to tell you that, you know, you brought that kind of personal side of it. And immediately I felt comfortable around you, and you were very receptive and very kind and very sweet. And then, you know, Dr. Morales, for you to take the time to come on and hopefully help educate, you know, some more of my listeners and kind of get your mission and your word out there. So I do greatly appreciate you. And I wanted to ask you about one more thing, was your Morales Foundation, because you not only are all of these other things, husband, father, surgeon, all the things, you are a photographer, which also makes people feel amazing. Yes. And fun fact, I have my company is Living Fit, and I do photo shoots. I don't do them, but I have people come in and do them for my clients, and we just do it for fun and for empowering women. And when I saw that you did that, obviously your next level, we just do it for fun here in CrossFit Gym. And I'm like, oh, that's so awesome, because I have always said that's the one thing I missed about competing was the photo shoots and the getting glammed up and feeling awesome. And I just think everybody should feel that way. And you do that for your patients, and you have a foundation behind that. And so tell us really quickly about your kind of mission with that Morales Foundation.
Yeah. Well, my empowering photo shoots for my patients only. It's really just going to build on their confidence from the surgeries that they had with me. And it just kind of give them just help them feel better. Most women have never done a photo shoot before, but try to make them, you know, feel like $1 million and kind of show it off a little bit for them, either for friends or family, whatever. On social media, it doesn't really matter to me, but I find it very rewarding. I have a waiting list, I think it's over 80 now.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm doing 10 at a time. So I have my next one coming up next weekend, actually.
Okay.
And we're gonna have 10 beautiful patients come out, and we'll do some great images, and show a little bit of confidence in the world. That's separate from what my foundation is. My foundation is going to honor my dad. And the idea is to kind of, I feel like I've been so blessed in the years I've put in, and really kind of inspired by him to do what I get to do every day. And I'm literally living the dream. I have an amazing wife, amazing kids. I get to do my dream job. I'm helping patients. Everything he told me, like, son, they're going to be knocking down your door. Just do good work. I promise you. And that's exactly what's happening. And I'm just so blessed and thankful. And so now I feel financially, capable of doing a surgical mission trip, kind of giving back to my roots, which is helping children that don't have the money to have reconstructive surgery. So my first trip is going to be in Guadalajara, which is going to be in April 12th.
Next month.
That's coming up.
I'm bringing my team my practice. I have 15 of my team members. We're going, and I have 2 fellows that I train, and they're my aesthetic fellows, so they're going to be helping me. And so we're going to hopefully work with 10 kids from, babies that have like syndactyly where their fingers are fused, to ears that are misshapen, to, traumatic or burn scars of their face or neck or body. And we're trying to help these kids, and, working on doing this on a yearly basis. Like, this is me trying to give back and getting back to my roots of why I want to be a plastic surgeon. Is really, I love kids and the impact it has on families and their lives, not just in function, but really in their confidence, is to me very, very, very rewarding. And I hope my legacy and my kids will remember this, that, patients remember that Dr. Morales, gave back. He just didn't make money. Yeah. Right? He's actually has other, good things in his life to do. And this is something I'm going to do every year for the rest of my career. And it's going to keep getting bigger. My next time I come, sorry.
Our light keeps timing out.
Yeah. So
I'm super pumped. It's been a long time coming, and
so this is your first one. This is your first one.
COVID put a halt to it in 2019, actually.
Yeah.
2020, just because of the way it hit Mexico a little bit harder than it did the States, and so it just was kind of a fiasco. So now we're able to kind of get back to plan, and it's all set up. I have a great team. I have 2 operating rooms I'm going to be using. I have an amazing staff over there ready to go. I've got the whole itinerary scheduled out. It's I just so excited. It's gonna be fun.
I love that. And I mean, you can literally change the trajectory of those children's lives. Yes. And like you said, their family. I mean, not only like the people that you help with plastic surgery, whether it's an implant or, a body sculpting or what have you, that can change the trajectory of somebody's life as well, obviously. But those kids, man, that just like brings me to tears. You guys are so very blessed. And I mean, gosh, what amazing couple.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for both of you guys, and specifically that kind of thing for both of you. And I'm just so happy that you got to come on. I could ask you a million more questions, but I won't hold you up any longer. I'll post everywhere that anybody can find you. And I was going to kind of ask you about your daily schedule and stuff like that, but I think you have all of that kind of on your YouTube, and you kind of document how that goes. So definitely everybody who's on here, whether you're listening on podcast or YouTube, go subscribe. And you have a podcast. Is it a podcast, or is it just your YouTube?
It's just my YouTube, but I'm committed to education and motivation. And so I'm recently I've been kind of finding people that inspire me to talk about just real, issues related to wellness and fitness or plastic surgery. And, it's a great platform. YouTube is a great platform for that. So I think it's a great medium for people to kind of get to know me a little bit and how I talk. I get the comment all the time that I look and talk just like I am on social media and YouTube, which that's just me.
That way.
I mean, I don't really change, I don't think, but it's the way people are learning now, and I'm guilty of it. I'm on YouTube University all the time. Like, my new topic, maybe we could talk about this later, but my new topic right now is optimizing women into perimenopause and menopause. Like, that is my new.
Be a whole nother show. Yes.
I'm telling you, Ask her. Like every time she sees me downstairs eating breakfast, I'm listening to a podcast on training.
We're trying to be smart about it.
Training, fitness, the metabolism of the female going into perimenopause. I think, and we could talk about this all day. I've literally
let's not go there now.
You don't want to get into this. I've literally in the past 2 weeks, I've probably listened to about 12 hours of this on YouTube. Yeah. I've got a book, got a couple books now, so I'm reading those. So it's gonna be another. Wait. So it's another rabbit hole of kind of, or I've unfortunately started.
so maybe you guys can come back on and share that at one point, because that is something I told my husband. I said, because he like anybody else, like what's your goals with your podcast? I'm like, I just want to bring the conversations out to people. I have this fun little unique advantage of kind of being in this wellness space and this CrossFit space, and then I bodybuild, and I worked at the Arnold many years, and I had sponsorships and all the things. So I kind of have all of these things, and I'm like, there needs to be less division, more communication, more education, and bringing more people like you guys to my listeners, and just to be able to kind of follow along. And it's a little bit selfish too. I'm like, I'm 41. I want to learn something, and I want to go into, that perimenopause stage that I'm not yet. But I want to be ahead of the game.
Yes, exactly. It's a huge part of anti-aging. And it's underappreciated.
I listen to some stuff, but obviously I won't be able to retain and communicate it and articulate it the way that you can. So maybe you can come back on in a little while and talk about that subject alone, because Lord knows we all need it. And I'm here for it, because I'm here to do all the things.
Exactly.
Well, this one, bless her heart, she's gonna be my guinea pig.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You guys are gonna come back on. You're going to tell us how it's going, and, the levels of training, and, and all of those things, because, and I will leave on this note, but my husband and I talk about this, and I am a firm believer that we have so much education and so much proper information if you find the right people and whatnot. We don't know what it's going to be like for us aging, because we only have the people that were ahead of us. We are in such different places, and we know how to take care of our bodies. And so we don't really know what aging is actually going to fully look like where our kids get to say, oh, like my mom and dad looked like this when, 50 was so old when we were younger. And now we're like, you don't even look old. so, we don't really know. We're kind of stepping into this new space of, aging well. So I'm excited to learn from you guys. So definitely come back on and share that. But everybody else can find you and watch your YouTubes, and go follow you guys on social media, because you're both sharing a lot of amazing stuff, and just heartwarming people. Like, I just wish I could just give you a hug.
But thank you so much for inviting us on. This was a fun time. Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah. So thank you so much. You guys are so blessed, and we're blessed to have you. Everybody here, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share this with everybody, because everybody can use this.